Good evening, everyone. As stated, I am Fletcher Bell, and District 67 means a lot to me. I grew up in this district. I'm from this district. And unlike McKinley, I went to Capitol High School, which is also in the district. But no, seriously, we're here for a very important thing. We know that there's a voting apathy within our community now, and we need to get back to the purpose of being purposeful about it. So when we talk about voter registration all the time, I told people we need to start focus instead of registration on mobilization. We have to get the people out. We have to do more than just sit in the barbershops and the beauty shops and complain about what's going on without us taking the purposeful action of trying to do better, trying to be better, and trying to vote in our best interests. So I tell everybody that not only do you vote, but make sure you let your family, let your friends, the people you know, and make sure that everybody you know is voting as well, because we have to be more purposeful about getting that done. So we're here for Louisiana House District 67 vacancy. That was a vacancy which was filled. The last representative went on to a higher seat as the senator, so we're here to fill a very important position. And the representative is just what it says. It's a representative. They are the true purpose of your voice. They're the true people who speak on your behalf when it comes to bill, which legislature, like when it comes to different things, which is going to have a direct impact on what you do. This is a forum, so there are going to be questions directly asked to the candidates because we want to get to know them. We want to know who's asking for our confidence and that they will do what's best for our communities. So the questions I'm asked are going to be very purposeful, and I'm going to try to limit the answers so we can get direct answers, but I want to save enough time so that you, the audience members, if you have any questions, that you can ask them as well. The questions I'm going to ask come from different people in the community. They come from different entities here in the community. They're not anything personal. It's just what the people want to know, and we're here to learn, as I said, about both candidates. With that in mind, I'm going to ask both candidates, and I'm going to give them 2 minutes. I want to be purposeful and respectful of their time because I have worked for, and worked around campaigns, and I know to be here is a sacrifice. So I want to first thank them for being here, but I also want to be respectful of your time because we are all family members and have other things we have to do with our time. So we're going to try to move this as expediently as possible. And again, thank you to the audience for being here. And please, if you have questions, I'm going to give you time at the end to ask those directly. At this moment, we're going to start. I'm going to give each one of the candidates 2 minutes to introduce yourself, and I'm going to start with you first, Mr. Landry, because you're the one sitting closest to me.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Terry Landry Jr. I first want to just start off by saying thank you to Reverend Anderson and the coalition for putting this on tonight and for inviting us, and thank you all for attending. I know at this time, people can be with their families, and so the fact that you are here and engaging in this process means a lot to me. It means a lot to the community, and you should be very proud of yourselves for being here. So thank you for that. But to get into it, really simple, I came to Baton Rouge in 1999, where I attended LSU, and then went on to Southern University Law Center, where I graduated in 2007. I met my lovely wife, Valencia, while we were in law school. And then just kind of stayed. The city stuck with me. I loved it. It was far away from home. It was enough away from home to where I could go back and visit, but far away enough to gain my independence. And just kind of fell in love with the culture. And so we have been here since that time. We did a brief stint in Lake Charles working for a judge, and then went on to work for Acadian Ambulance in Lafayette. Was only supposed to be there for a few months while I was studying for the bar. But thank God they liked what they saw, and wound up being there for 8 years, and started doing government affairs work in 2009. And since that time, I have been at the Capitol for every legislative session, every special session, every reorganizational session since that time. Whether it's been for LDH, where I worked as the Medicaid fraud person. I worked for the DCFS as a legislative liaison, and then now in my current capacity as policy director for a social justice and civil rights organization, where we advocate for people and their rights across the board, whether it's education, criminal justice, voting rights. We just fight for the rights of the people. So, like I said, I have my wife, Valencia. We have 3 wonderful children. My oldest is 19. She's attending Spelman in Atlanta. We are very proud of her. And then we have 2 younger kids. Langston is 11 and Brendan is 9. And so we present ourselves to you, having done the work, feel like we want to continue to do the work from the inside and be able to hold the people accountable and represent the people well. So thank you again for being here.
Thank you, Mr. Landry. Mr. Marchbanks?
I also want to say thank you for being here, and thank you for being here, sir.
Yes, sir.
It's good to
Thank
be
you.
here with you.
Absolutely.
Glad we could have this exchange.
Always.
And thank you to the coalition for hosting this. Now, I am not an experienced public speaker, so I wrote my opening remarks, so if y'all will forgive me for using prepared remarks. So my name is Sonny Marchbanks, and like many of you, I have grown increasingly concerned about the toxicity in our politics. It feels like we've lost track of the everyday struggles of working class people. I've worked hard my entire life to get where I am today. Now, in my career as a construction project manager, my focus is on solving problems every day. And that's precisely why I decided to run for state representative. To bring a problem-solving approach to the community and help address the challenges we face. Now, part of that commitment is being open and honest, even when it's difficult. And this is embarrassing. This is traumatic to talk about for me. Years ago, as a young college student, I made a mistake. My partner had addiction issues, and I was not paying close enough attention to what was going on around the house. We both got in legal trouble. I took responsibility for my actions. And despite significant challenges, I persevered. I finished college. I graduated cum laude, and I came to LSU for grad school. It was a difficult period in my life, but I learned invaluable lessons and ultimately found the way forward. Now, as a candidate, I believe that it is invaluable for voters to understand who I am and what drives me. I've experienced the complexities of the legal system. I understand the struggles, the setbacks, and the immense effort required to rebuild a life. And while legal professionals and prison administrators offer essential expertise, my lived experience provides a unique and vital perspective. I know what it's like inside the mouth of the beast. And I know that rehabilitation and positive change are possible. I know the way out. I'm here today to share that perspective, to listen, and to collaborate with y'all on how we build a better Baton Rouge and a better Louisiana. I'm honored to be here today. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Marchbanks. Okay, round one, our first round, it's going to be our rapid round question. I'm basically just going to ask both candidates a question. I'm going to ask you to please try to limit your response to 30 seconds or less. These are basically, you can give answers in 1 or 2 words if it's more comfortable, because we just want to get to the heart and get to the matter. The first question is going to be, and I'm going to start with you this time, Mr. Marchbanks. If elected, will you commit to holding quarterly community town halls in your district? And if so, what would be the primary purpose of your town halls?
Absolutely, I'll do that. In fact, like something I've said repeatedly is, anything going on in the community, you invite me, I'll be there. Your family reunion, your church sale, if you're moving, I'll come help.
What I'm asking is from your campaign, from your office, do you hold this quarterly meeting?
Absolutely.
And same question, Mr. Landry Jr.
Yes, on the campaign trail, if you talk to anybody who I've talked to knocking on doors, they'll talk about transparency and accountability. And I often say that starts with me. So you won't have to invite me. I'll be inviting you to my town hall to invite you, to inform you on what's going on in the Capitol, what we're doing, and why I'm doing it, why I'm taking certain stances. And also you can talk to me about what are your issues, and we'll be able to bring that back to the Capitol.
Thank you, Mr. Landry Jr. Okay, let's start with you, Mr. Landry Jr. This is Baton Rouge is the home of two world-class universities. We have both Louisiana State University and Southern University. And both campuses have been recently plagued with hazing difficulties and things of that nature. There's now being introduced possibly the Caleb Wilson Act, which will require some additional training for the college students. Would you support this Caleb Wilson Act, yes or no?
Absolutely. You don't send our kids to college for them to come back in a body bag. A young man died. And so anything to prevent that from happening, like I said, I have children. My daughter is in college right now, and she may want to pledge. And if she decides to do that, I would not expect for any harm to be done to her physically. And so I am a member of a fraternity, full disclosure, but I do not support hazing in any shape, form, or fashion. So.
Mr. Marchbanks?
I absolutely support this. My son is a sophomore in college. Joined a fraternity recently, which gave me a little bit of heartburn because I was worried about these instances. Now, he's a big kid, so I wasn't totally worried about them roughing him up, but you never know. And luckily, he is committed to ensuring that doesn't happen in his fraternity, but I do believe in laws that help prevent these kind of activities because, like Terry says, nobody should send their kid to school to see them come home in a body bag.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Marchbank. The next question, I'm going to start with you, Mr. Marchbank. East Baton Rouge Parish is increasingly more diverse. It's become more diverse every day. And this includes a bunch of our immigration population who come with different language barriers and things of that nature. I want to know, would you or have someone on your campaign commit to learning these different languages, and how would you integrate this new faction of community, immigration community moving into our city?
So I've had some experience with this working in a law office that most of our clients were Spanish speakers. And I regretted dropping out of Spanish in college and switching over to Latin, because if Julie Caesar comes to town, I'll be great. But I did have to figure out how to communicate with people, and that involved various technologies, and it allowed me to communicate with people about the various legal issues. And I will take those skills that I picked up there and translate them over to being state representative.
So let me ask you this, just as a quick follow-up, and I'm going to follow up the same thing with you, Mr. Landry. So when you're introducing bills or when you're bringing bills forth, would you have them in different language text so that the immigration community can?
Well, I'll remind everybody that used to, all laws were introduced in French and Spanish. I mean, French and English. And I think that could be a valuable tool in communicating with the community what we're trying to do.
Okay. You need me to repeat the question?
Yes,
Mr. Landry?
yes.
Okay, the first part of the question being that East Baton Rouge is more diverse. How would your campaign commit to being more inclusive of our immigrant population? And the second part of that question, would you commit to, when you're doing your bills and your legislation, having written up in different languages so they could be more inclusive?
Okay, so first, I think that we always want to meet people where they are. So we want to go into those communities where is a large immigrant population, and have someone who could be able to translate for us back and forth. Or we can use the technology, like Mr. Marchbanks said. There's a plethora of things that we have on our phones that can assist with that. But we also would look into publications being in whatever language is necessary to communicate with our constituents, because we want to represent everyone, regardless of race, regardless of sex, regardless of belief. We want to be a man of the people, and so to do that, we have to meet people where they are and do what's necessary to do.
Thank you, Mr. Landry.
Next question, I'm gonna start with you, Mr. Landry Jr. We know that we hold people accountable at work as far as being at work, timely being at work for most of the days that they want to get paid, things of that nature. We know that a lot of times in the legislative session, things go long sometimes, but things get busy. What type of commitment, can we expect at least a 90% commitment from you to be present when it comes to the voting on bills within the House?
Yes, I believe in voting. We teach our children to vote, and being at a job where voting is no different, it's important. And so we would not be able to rest easy if we missed more than that 10%. And so we want to rest assured that we will be present to be a voice, to be a vote for the people.
Thank you. Mr. Marchbanks.
So when I'm hired for a job, I do that job. I will be there from the first gavel to the last gavel, and I'll probably be there before and I'll probably be there after.
Okay. So yes on at least 90% of the time?
That is 100% yes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Marchbanks. Okay, see, that was short and painless. Now we're going to come to the second round, which is our open-ended questions. These are going to be questions which are going to give the candidates a chance to elaborate a little bit more. I'm going to please ask for just time argument. Try to keep it within 1 to 2 minutes as far as your answer, and so we can try to get through the majority of these questions as quickly as possible. I'm going to start with you, Mr. Landry Jr. I want to first ask the question. Let me find the. Okay. What is your vision for making District 67 a safe, welcoming place for all? And just please, in your response, include your top 3 priorities for District 67.
Well, look, everybody wants to keep their community safe, right? My children and I, my wife and our children, had the unfortunate experience of attending a Christmas parade where shots rang out. And we had to immediately grab our children and tell them to run. And they're trying to ask questions, why are we running? Just run, right? We just run. And had to really explain to them as a traumatic experience of being at a Christmas parade, trying to enjoy it. They're catching beads and eating candy and doing all the things that kids do, and really panicked and were fearful to go to another parade afterwards. And so we don't want that to happen. If I don't want it to happen to my children, I definitely don't want it to happen to yours. And so we are committed to public safety. But we're not all about just incarcerating people for the sake of incarcerating. We want to have real results, data-driven results that are built on rehabilitation as well. We do not condone crime, but we know that Louisiana has made a ton of mistakes in the way it incarcerates people, specifically people in our communities. Top 3 priorities is opportunity. We do that by investing. We want to invest in children. So you'll see me always say I will fully commit to fully funding early childhood education. That'll be the first thing I do. We're talking about investing in small and local businesses because we want the economy to thrive here. We're talking about public safety, which is, if you look at my push card, it says that. And then the last thing is about accountability and transparency, which I told you, hold me accountable first. I'm here. Do not let this be the last time I see you. Do not let it be the last time you see me. And if you don't see me, call me. Give me the opportunity to come to you and say, hey, I'm here. If I don't answer, you can blast me. I've given several people my cell phone number and say, if you call me more than twice and I don't return your phone call, don't show up, feel free to tell the public I have neglected my responsibilities. That's the kind of accountability, that's the kind of transparency we want to bleed with. So That's who I am, and that's what I'm about.
Well, if you win or lose, they're gonna still call you on that number.
That's fine. That's fine. Hey, look, I gotta be at the Capitol anyway. It doesn't matter. So,
Okay, Mr. Marchbanks, you need me to repeat the question?
Please, sir.
Okay.
What is your vision for making District 67 a safe, welcoming place for all? And please include your top 3 priorities for District 67.
So, there's no way to talk about that without talking about my top 3 priorities. Education is top priority. I believe universal pre-K. Universal pre-K will be my priority. It will be a bill I run every session until I get it. I believe that education is an investment in the future of our economy, and it speaks to public safety. Second, I want to encourage an entrepreneurial economy in Baton Rouge. I want to help small businesses. I want this to be a place that somebody comes to start the next big thing. And I think transportation plays into this. So I didn't have a car there for a while, and I've ridden the bus from Brightside to downtown, and it took an hour. And you can walk from Brightside downtown in an hour. Yeah. So we can't expect people to come here, do the next big thing. We cannot add to quality of life if it's hard to get around. And I think addressing our public transportation and the state of our roads goes a long way towards that.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Marchbanks. I'm going to do a follow-up question. We know that public safety is key. We know that the safety, especially when it comes to our children, is key. So I'm going to ask that. We know that in recent years, here in Louisiana, legislature passed a permitless carry, and that gun violence has increased, and it's a real crisis for our state. This includes suicides. This includes accidental deaths by children and minors, things of that nature. So what is your plan, starting with you, Mr. Marchbanks, to address the gun issue, especially as it relates to District 67?
So I opposed that bill, as did most of the sheriffs of Louisiana, and law enforcement in general opposed that. If somebody wants to go through the process of getting a permit, I've got no problem with that, but just allowing it carte blanche, I do not think was right. The availability of weapons on the street is a huge challenge. And exactly how we address a flood when all we have is a sandbag is a difficult question. And I do not presume to have all the answers to it. This is something that will require a lot of work. I think repealing concealed carry would go a long way toward that, though.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Landry Jr.
yes, I think that, look, I was there when a lot of this discussion happened. Many in opposition, including myself, I did not testify on the bill, but was there for the opposition and supportive opposition of this bill, said it was like the Wild Wild West, right? You're just allowing individuals to openly carry. We know that, in this state, we're known for having a good time. We love our parties. We love our adult beverages, I would call them. And so when you put those two things together, we have a dangerous combination. So the permitless carry is here, it passed. And so until we can repeal it, until we can show the data that shows that it's not moving our state in the right direction, what I promise to do is ensure that it doesn't go further. We're gonna fight against putting guns in schools, because there was discussion about giving teachers guns. We're opposed to that. We're opposed to allowing the open carry in restaurants that serve alcohol. So we're gonna fight against those measures to ensure that it doesn't go any further than it has gone already, and then work to slowly repeal it back once the data shows that it's not favorable to our communities.
Thank you, Mr. Landry Jr. This next question, I'm starting with you, Mr. Landry Jr. We know that with recent laws, with recent executive order, with recent rulings from our court, chaotic society. Things are not as they were a year ago. We know that within this past March 29th election, there were 4 amendments proposed to the Louisiana Constitution, and thanks to the voters, we know that the voters have emphatically said no to all 4. We now see that in the pre-filing, there's a Senate Bill 74, which is basically the same language as Article 3, which dealt with the minors and charging of the minors. Is being brought back in a different way. Same thing, but a different way. So I'm asking, is this something you're aware of, and when, if elected, will this be something you support or oppose, and why?
So SB 74 is done by Senator Alan Seabaugh. It is a little different than what was on the amendment, because the amendment, the proposed amendment number 3, said that a child of any age for any felony could be charged as an adult. Right? Any crime, I'm sorry. Any child of any age could, and for any felony, could be charged as an adult. Right? What SB 74 does is change, and it gives an age. It says 15. Right? So before Act 3, you could have been 10 years old. Right? But 15 is still too young. So I would hope that you all have, if you've done your research, I have adamantly spoken out against Act 3. I have toured the state speaking out against Act 3. I have gone to local congregations. I probably talked to the people in the street. I probably talked to my wife too many times about what Act 3 means and how it affects our children. It's a direct attack on our children. And when you attack our children, you attack our future. And so there is no denying that I will be on the front lines when elected to oppose SB 74, because our children are children and deserve to be treated as such and not to be faced in an adult facility.
Thank you, Mr. Landry. Mr. Marchbanks?
I would absolutely oppose it, 100%. We have a system in place, and we should let that system work. I think it's that simple.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Marchbanks, I'm gonna start with you. And this is another question dealing with our immigration population. We know our refugees and the immigrant population are living in complete fear at this moment because of certain laws and orders which are in place. We know that in 2024, our state, Louisiana, finally ended its final 287 G agreement. That's the agreement that the state made with the sheriff, that they can hold people and pick up people who have possibly deported. But because of the new executive order, we know that a lot of our state sheriffs are now working hand in hand to enforce some of these agreements and things of that nature. What do you believe is the role of the legislator in protecting immigration population and assuring that they have due process?
What is the role of the legislature in ensuring due process?
Yes.
Well, so anyone in the country, if you're here, you're protected by the Constitution. There's a reason that we had Guantanamo Bay and kept them all there, because if we brought them here, our constitutional laws would apply, so we kept them there. So I believe the legislature should see to it that the laws are fairly executed, but I've seen the fear in these communities, and we do not want our we do not want people not calling the police when they're in a bad situation. We do not want somebody not calling the police because they're being abused. And we should, as a state, see to it that we don't have whole communities go underground. That is dangerous, and we should take steps to prevent it.
Thank
I believe that the role of a representative, as a state representative, is to protect the people, right? We have an immigrant population. They are still our people. They still are residents, law-abiding citizens of this district. And so some of the things that are going on are scare tactics. Whether you want people to leave, whether you want them to be able to vote, whether you don't want them to have a better life for their children, all of which are unacceptable. There are no, these are victimless crimes, so to speak, if a crime at all. And so my role would be to protect the people, inform the people, educate the people on what your rights are, and then be a voice for them to ensure that we are not incorrectly detaining individuals, we are not incorrectly separating families, because when we do that, children lose, we all lose, right? So if you heard anything I've said about platform, I am absolutely dedicated to children. That is one of the most important things that we do. We talk about that's our future. And the only way to make a better Louisiana is to have better investments in children. And so I think that the more we keep families together, the more we keep this community thriving and feeling safe, the better Louisiana will produce in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Landry Jr. Next question, I'm going to start with you, Mr. Landry Jr. We know that Louisiana Department of Health Department is going to lose up to $86 million in federal funding because of some of the bill cuts and things of that nature. We know that the department here uses 90% of that budget to run its Medicaid program. What are you prepared to offer in the realignment to help ensure health care in our state stays at a status quo that people are still being able to go to the doctor?
Well, I don't think status quo is good enough. I think we have to always expand health care. I think we have to provide mental health needs expanding, Medicare needs expanding. People should not have to suffer simply because of economic status. We do not have enough resources in this state, in this city, for mental health issues. I think that a lot of things that people are incarcerated for are because some things go untreated, and we don't have the resources to manage that. So as a state representative, it would be my duty to ensure that that is funded properly, to ensure that we are always expanding those efforts, and to treat our people the way they need. You know, every case is different, every person is different. And so we want to ensure that people have the resources they need to get the help that they need and the healing that we need in order to move this state forward.
Thank you, Mr. Landry. Marchbanks, same question.
So the lack of healthcare availability in the state results in us using our jail and prison system as a mental health care system. And now, with the cuts that are coming, that will collapse. Along with the healthcare system that we have, because if it wasn't for the expansion of Governor John Bell Edwards, we would have had rural hospitals go under. So it is essential, absolutely essential, that we come up with the money. But there's no two ways around it. Because the health of our people is the economy of our people. And no one should end up broke because they can't work because they don't have access to health care. So it's incumbent upon us as a state to fully fund these programs and keep them viable.
Thank you, Mr. Marchbanks. Next question, I'm going to begin with you. We know the district in which you serve is within East Baton Rouge Parish. We know that there has recently been a separate city formed and that the parish is losing some funding. We know that there are several parish specific pre-filed bills, which includes removing entities which normally used to stand alone, like Brent, like CATS, like the Baton Rouge Metro Airport. So my question is, how do you intend to vote on these bills? And what's your perspective on some of the bills separating some of the funded, separate funds and bringing them into the East Baton Rouge Parish under the control of the East Baton Rouge Parish system?
Well, so St. George has happened. Now, I haven't looked into all these bills, so I can't speak to the implications without actually reading them.
Yes.
And I'm going to try to be an honest politician and tell you when I don't know a thing.
Yes, I
And having not read these various bills, I do know that McMakin has two bills, one to put cats under the parish and one to put Breck under the parish. I haven't read the bill. I haven't seen the details of it. I do think both of those entities could be run more efficiently. They both have some issues. Anyone who has ridden a bus in this town knows that Cats has issues and is in desperate need of an overhaul. Whether McMakin's bill will solve that problem, I don't know. I need to read the bill.
Yes.
As far as how we address any kind of funding issues as a result of St. George, and I haven't gone deep into the numbers. Again, I'm going to be an honest politician here. If they are getting the dollar amount for the services that they were already getting from the parish, but now they've added another layer of government to themselves, which just baffles me. How these people that hate government add another layer of government to themselves. So we should be able to, we'll have to look and see how the parish gets by on the money that it has. And I don't know if there's even been a study of that done yet.
Okay.
Thank you for your honesty, Mr. Marchbanks. Mr. Landry Jr., do you need me to repeat the question? No, you got it.
Yes.
Okay, it's basically saying that your district, which lies within East Baton Rouge Parish, how do you plan to vote on the issues when it comes to entities like Breck, the library, Cats, and Baton Rouge Metro, their funding and their control being brought under East Baton Rouge Mayor's office?
Well, I think the first approach is the approach I take usually with every bill, whether I oppose it or support it. I want to talk to the author first. So I would have to go and talk to Representative McMakin, and he and I have had some interesting conversations about some legislation he's passed previously, but always respectful, always with integrity and respect for what he's trying to do, but also trying to gain an understanding of what he's trying to accomplish. I think that, yes, Cats need some help. I don't know if it needs an overhaul. I'm not a transportation expert by any means. I do know the challenges that it has faced over the years. I paid attention. But as far as Breck, that is very interesting approach, because I think within the last 3 years, if not sooner, I think Breck got a blue ribbon for being one of the top recreational places in the country. And so, it's an interesting approach that now you want to change that. We have beautiful parks that my kids take advantage of. We bring them to the zoo all the time. They just had a little baby Lacumba, the third, that's running around that the kids seem to enjoy. So I'm not sure what his angle is, but I would want the respect of being able to talk to Representative McMakin, which I have not had the opportunity to. I'm sure I would talk to him Monday about that as we start the legislative session, and see what his position is. But I find it mind-boggling that he wants to take over these systems that seem to be flourishing, and like not all, but especially like the Breck. And I'm from the school, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I need to talk to him. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Landry Jr.
Next question, I'm going to start with you, Mr. Landry Jr., and I promise y'all I got a couple more questions. I'm going to start with you, Mr. Landry Jr. We know that before the Supreme Court, we know that last Monday, the Supreme Court heard arguments, oral arguments on the redistricting of the second majority minority district here for the House of Congressional House of Representatives. Now, if the Supreme Court rules against Louisiana redrawing of the district and sends it back to the legislature, what are your thoughts on this issue, and how do you plan to take steps to resolve?
Plans will be the same as they were in 2023 and 2024, because I was there. I was on the front lines. We testified actively. I testified actively in support of having a second majority district. The explanation is very simple. In Louisiana, we have 6 congressional districts. Louisiana has an African American population of approximately 33.33%. And so when you take 6 and you divide it by 3, you get 2, which means we need and we deserve 2 congressional districts. So should the Supreme Court do something unconscionable and unfathomable by reverting back, we will be in the front lines again, testifying against anything that does not give Louisiana and its people what we deserve. We want equal representation. We're not asking for anything that is out of the ordinary. We just want the same representation as proportionate to the citizens of the state. We want Congress to reflect the population. And so we feel that we have done a good job of doing that. And we'll go back to it until they get it right. We did 3 sessions on redistricting. And if we have to do 3 more, we will continue to fight until it sticks and get it right and continue to maintain that second majority district.
Thank you, Mr. Landry Jr. Mr. Marchbanks, same question.
So I think it's only right that Louisiana has 2 minority, that's a tongue twister, districts. And it's funny when you look at, if you look at that case, the state said race wasn't considered in this, politics was, because we didn't like one of the congressmen and we wanted to get rid of it. Of course, I'm talking about Garrett Grimes. When it comes to drawing the new maps, Cleo Fields had a beautiful map that was concise. It drew a really nice new majority district that ran the North River parishes here. I don't know what Baton Rouge has in common with Bossier City and why we are in the same congressional district. I mean, if we keep that map, I'm fine with it. It doesn't offend me. But if they were to throw this map out, I think Congressman Fields ought to do some really nice maps that we could start with. And I would be in favor of any of those.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Marchbanks. The last question is going to be a chance for you just to expound a little. Both of you have declared yourself Democrats, and so what does the term Democrat mean to you personally, and what should it mean to the citizens who will consider voting for you? I'm going to start with you, Mr. Marchbanks.
So, the Democratic Party, from the time of FDR, has been the party of the working class and civil rights, of equal rights. And that's why I'm a Democrat. And I'm proud to be a Democrat. Now, there are some that may say that I was not registered a Democrat until recently, and this is true. Because in this state, with our open primary system, it doesn't matter what you're registered as. And I was registered no party. Now that we're moving to a closed primary system, and I had been registered as a Democrat before. I moved to no party. I think something happened that upset me, and I became no party because it didn't matter in my vote of things. But the commitment of the Democratic Party to labor, to civil rights, is paramount, and that's why I'm proud to be a Democrat, and wholeheartedly embrace this party.
Thank you, Mr. Marchbanks. Mr. Landry, what does Democrat mean to you, and what should your citizens know about you being a Democrat?
So I am a lifelong Democrat, never changed, never intend to change. And I think what it means to me is just to be of the people, to represent the people's interest, to not look at economic status, to not look at race, but to truly focus on the good of the people, whether that's public assistance, whether that's thriving communities, whether that's investing in children, whether it's investing in our families. That's what a Democrat means to me. It means always being on the front lines, willing to truly be the true definition of a public servant. I believe in service. We've given our life to service, and we want to continue that. And so that is what Democrat means to me. It's about being a true public servant and a servant of the people.
Thank you, Mr. Landry Jr. Okay, we're going to move into our third round. And in this round, I want to ask individual questions. It's going to be, these are questions which were submitted to us from the community. So I'm going to ask each of you 2 or 3 questions depending on time. And again, I'm going to ask that you please try to limit your answers to 1 to 2 minutes. I'm going to start with you, Mr. Marchbanks. Question 1 is for you. A new administration in Baton Rouge and at the federal level has resulted in a level of uncertainty towards many previous operated programs here in our city and its services. What do you see as your role in coordinating with the multiple different governmental agencies to keep the services flowing in your district?
So the cuts that are coming will be disastrous if they're allowed to fully take place. And it will be a priority to find a way to fill those holes. We absolutely have to. We cannot let some of these services go to the wayside. It will be a total disaster for our community, and it'll be a top priority to find that money one way or the other.
Thank you, Mr. Marchbanks. Mr. Landry Jr., the Trump administration has defunded a number of programs. And this was submitted by a program youth advocate, I'm sorry. The Trump administration has defended a number of programs critical to the economic and to the quality of life, especially here in inner city District 67. How would you address such priorities and trying to assure funding when it comes to tax credit for family caregivers, support for underwriting expenses for long-term care, and things of that nature?
Well, I think the first thing we have to do is stand tall together. You know, I am a firm believer in collaboration. At the legislature, we have what's called the Baton Rouge delegation. And so I think that once we can get together and ensure that we are fighting together to ensure that funds are directed here to Baton Rouge to fund some of those programs that you're talking about. And then we also have to work with the council, Councilwoman Carolyn Coleman, Councilwoman Tawana Harris, and then also be able to reach out to Senator Selders, all of which I'm proud to say have endorsed me. And they believe in our candidacy, and we believe in that collaboration. And so I think those efforts at multiple levels, not just at the state level, but also reaching at the city level, being able to reach out to Congressman Fields, I think is advantageous to our area. And something that we want to bring to the table is to be able to bring all of our delegation together and fight for one Baton Rouge and to fund those programs you just mentioned.
Thank you, Mr. Landry Jr. Mr. Marchbanks, this question was submitted by one of our housing advocates. The National Low Income Housing Coalition recently released a report that showed that here in Louisiana, 73% of extremely low income renters spend 50% or more on their monthly income for housing, and that there is a deficit of over 100,000 plus affordable available units for extremely low income households. What would you do to help protect extremely low income renters from entering homelessness and to increase the supply of availability for people living in your community?
Well, this is a supply and demand problem. I do think that, like, if you look at places like New York that have instituted things like freezes on rent. That seems like something that we should look at. As far as making housing more available, it seems like there's several opportunities for public-private partnerships here to increase the availability of housing.
Thank you, Mr. Marchbanks. Mr. Landry Jr. This question was submitted by one of our youth program advocates, and the question is, we know that there's talk of indications that present administration wants to eliminate or reduce FEMA. We know that we're coming up to hurricane season. We know that Louisiana is always one of the top states in hurricanes and other natural disasters. So when it comes to cost on disaster recovery and being properly prepared for disaster, what are your thoughts and how do you plan to help to address any shortfalls which may come because of the cuts?
Well, I think that as we approach the 20 years of one of the most devastating storms of many of our lifetimes, Hurricane Katrina, we know what a pivotal role FEMA played in that, in recovery. And so, yes, it's not perfect, but to say something should be eliminated because they were missteps or mistakes along the way, I think is erroneous. I think it's an irrational decision. I think it points the finger, and I think that we have to ensure, number one, as always, that people are educated about the danger in storms. I think we have to also further ensure that we're not always, oh, this is the big one, it's coming, we gotta be scared, and it is drizzling outside, right? So, because then people get comfortable, and they say, okay, they said it the last time, the sun was out, my kids were playing. And so we just have to be careful on how we structure the way these storms are labeled or are presented by the media. I think that we do have to invest in safety and to ensure we have the best emergency preparedness system that we can have. I think that takes also investments. I don't think we need to cut things where people's lives are at risk. Hurricanes are real. We saw it 20 years ago, and they're only going to increase. We've seen recently with the windstorms we've had here, without it being hurricane season. So we don't know what's on the horizon. So we want to make sure that our citizens are safe. We saw how hospital systems can shut down, nursing homes. We want to make sure that we have the best system possible that prepares our citizens but not scares our citizens.
Thank you, Mr. Landry Jr. Mr. Marchbanks, this question was submitted by Bayou Progressive. How does your arrest and conviction record in Covington impact your views on the criminal justice system in Louisiana today?
Well, so I have seen firsthand how unfair the criminal justice system can be. Not just with what happened with me, but there was an old man that was fishing over here on University Lake. They got arrested for fishing without a license. He could not afford the bond, and he spent 40 days in East Baton Rouge Parish Prison, because he couldn't afford the $300 bail. He got time served and was released because he couldn't afford the bail. That's not right. And my experience makes me very sympathetic to these instances. I could see how we have to protect the community. Absolutely. But there's many instances where we take somebody who made a mistake and we utterly destroy them in our criminal justice system. And we strip them of any opportunity that is possible for them. I was lucky enough to have good people around me, had a spirit of hard work in me, spirit of perseverance, focused on school, got through it. And I see how what was easy for me is not easy for everyone. But I can see how we could make it easier for them.
Thank you. Mr. Marchbanks.
Mr. Landry, question also submitted by the Bayou Progressive. You mentioned your endorsement, during your endorsement, you also the son of a former state representative. How will you challenge the status quo of the legislator and from both sides of the aisle?
Well, I think that my family ties in this situation is a coincidence of sorts, in the sense of I am my own person. I have pledged and formed my own path. Yes, my father, as parents should, my mother as well. A lot of people want to talk about my dad, but my mother was really at home rearing us while he was off having his career. Nothing against him. He provided and was a father, was a great father to us, and he is a great father. And is responsible for what you see before you. I know there's no denying the DNA, right? But what I will say is we spent 16 years at the Capitol, as I mentioned earlier. And through that 16 years, we've built relationships, we've built coalitions, we've collaborated people. For those of you who don't know, there are 105 House members in the legislature. I'll be one of those. There are 73 Republicans. So in order to get anything done, we have to reach across the aisle. So the legislation that we've passed or helped pass as an advocate, we will build upon those relationships. We will continue to collaborate. We will continue to push that forward. And I'm from the old school. One benefit by being in this environment for so long, I can remember the Senator Cravens, the then Representative Fields, the then Representative and Senator C.D. Jones, and how they went about their business with integrity, with respect. They didn't always agree with the opposite side, or sometimes they didn't even agree with each other, but they did it with respect, and they were able to go back into the back room and say, hey, let's work out a deal that best represents our people and do what's best for our communities. And that's what we want to bring back to the legislature, that respect and integrity amongst legislators, amongst public servants, to do the work of the people.
Okay, we're going to get back to the question. I think I left off with you, Mr. Landry Jr., so the next question I'm going to start is going to be with you, Mr. Marchbanks. So the question is simply, I want you to speak on or to talk about the impact of some of the DEI eliminations in other programs which would be eliminated within your district, and how it's going to affect the minority businesses in your district, and how you plan to try to help out or to address those issues.
So, this has got to be one of the most ridiculous parts of the Trump administration. Going after a concept which has led to things like deleting the Enola Gay from the Department of Defense website because it has the word gay, and deleting the Tuskegee Airmen from the website because it promoted black aviators. It doesn't make sense, and it's not right. And we are a melting pot of a country, and that's what makes us great. That's what makes us awesome. The fact that we can all come together. How this ends up shaping locally, I don't think we can know yet. I work for a minority-owned business where, we've got the certification. It definitely plays into the construction work that we do. So far, we have not seen any sign of it affecting our ability to get jobs. If that were to change, we'd need to address that. We'd absolutely have to address that, because the work that these programs do ensures an upwardly mobile society. So this is something that we'll have to keep an eye on. I hope this is something that passes, that we can correct in time. It's not right. It makes no sense. And, if I can just be quite blunt, I don't want to cuss here, but I won't. It's racist as hell. Just to be quite blunt, it's just racist. And I think it's a stain on us.
Thank you, Mr. Marshall. Thank you. Mr. Landry Jr., this question was submitted by one of our veteran groups, and the question is simply, what do you see as the biggest issue facing veterans, and what can be done to advance solutions to some of their shortcomings and some of the issues they are now facing?
This is a great question. We were able actually to work on some veteran affairs issues in the legislature a few years ago with a rep out of Natchitoches who was a veteran and really had a passion for it. And one of the reoccurring issues that kept coming up was mental health, providing the proper care for our veterans. I mean, these are individuals who literally put their lives on the line to fight for our freedoms. And yet they come back home and they're disregarded. They're forgotten. When you were heroes on the battlefield, you consider zero at home. And we shouldn't take that for granted. And so I think that providing them adequate care, I know they have the VA and that provides some assistance, but I know many of veterans, my father-in-law and father included, who had to travel miles. And I mean, I'm talking about all the way to Alexandria or Shreveport, just to see a doctor to get some type of pension to take care of things that happened while they were fighting in Vietnam, which I wasn't even born or even thought of, right? And so what tragedy is that the people that fight and protect our country come home and are forgotten? And so mental health is a huge issue, but it's even a bigger issue. And just health period overall for our veterans, I think is important, so that we ensure that they are healthy. And in that way, they're not, we have a large amount of the homeless population that are former veterans as well. So all of that things plays into it. I think it starts with the health and the mentality of taking care of them and ensuring that we protect them just as they once protected us.
Thank you, Mr. Landry Jr., and thank you again too, Mr. Marchbanks. Y'all finished with the 50-minute fletcher conversations. And so we're gonna go ahead at this time, and we're gonna be open to the audience, respectful. And if you have a question or if you have something you would like to address to one or both of the candidates, please do so at this time. If you have a question, sir.
I'm gonna let the lady go first.
Okay, that's very gentleman of you.
No problem. Mama would be proud.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so earlier both of you were speaking about prison reform or prison rehabilitation, and as far as our incarceration rates. And what I've understood now, and I can say this, at 14 I was shot, at 17 I was looking at 20 to 25 years for possession of a weapon on school campus. When it comes down to the things that we have been surrounded by, and you spoke on mental health several times, and I'm so grateful. It doesn't just impact our veterans, it impacts our children, especially in today's time where our children are losing 4 to 5 peers within, it's been 5 months, and they're losing their friends and family, which creates an environment of eat or be eaten. When are we, or what do you all have plans on going into the schools and actually being present, or if there's any programming to where these children get mental health and rehabilitation before, for the trauma and the mental health, before going into the prisons, where in East Baton Rouge prison, they are bringing out 1 cooler of water into a dorm full of men, creating an environment of chaos. So there is no reform. They're not trying to shake them back. They're not trying to help them in there. But it starts, we said no entry, safe passage. So before it gets there, what can we do for our children within our communities, within the school systems, who are facing trauma at an alarming rate? I was looking in New Hampshire, their crime rate is 1.8. Ours is 51.8. And then we go and look at the highest incarceration rate within this city. We go to the age group. That's 14 to 24, before your brain is fully developed, before you are conscious of the decisions that you're making. So how do we help and for me, I'm an only daughter, but I was raised by amazing Black men. How do we help our young boys stay from being put in these systems, especially when they are creating laws where there's no good time, your first mistake, and I wouldn't even be out of jail if that was the case. I wouldn't have my children, I wouldn't have my degrees, I wouldn't be able to speak in front of you had I not been given a second chance. What are we doing about that?
Oh, well, I mean, I will let, as the old saying goes, let my work speak for what I've done, speak for me. Let the work I've done speak for me. We fought for what I call redemption, into allowing individuals who are formerly incarcerated to have a second chance, to ban the box, to get your voting rights back. All of those initiatives I was a part of. The non-unanimous jury, we were a part of that fight. So we have done the work to ensure that, and we continue to do it because there's still an attack on our children, as I mentioned, that think about a child going into the system at 10 years old and being a convicted felon at 10 years old.
Right.
That is a stain on his life for the rest of his life. So he's forever. It's not coming off, right? And so what we want to do when you talk about mental health with children is not just about the crime environment. It's just about the things that kids have to deal with. They are processing information at a faster pace than we could ever imagine because it's right here in their hands, right? It's right at their fingertips. And they see, like you said, they are seeing their friends dying, not only from acts of violence, but from suicide, from bullying, from peer pressure, right? And so I think it automatically starts with investing in the early childhood education, right? And we can't stop there. We have to fully fund it, which is something I'm committed to doing. But then we also have to fully fund preventative methods, right? We all know when we were coming up, at least I'm a little older, which is all this great. We spent time at the park, right? Or at the gym. And that's where the neighborhood, hey, everybody going to the gym, we going to shoot ball, we going to swim, we going to do, now we didn't know how to swim, we going to play in the water, right? But we had activities, right? We had things to do. We had summer programs, right? We had community, right? We've lost that. And so until we get back to investing, which is why break is so important, they're at least trying to bring back that old school programming for our children. These field trips, they're going to see what's outside of the city. Those things are important, and we can't neglect them. So it's going to be a totality approach, but it starts with investing in our children at an early age, and then making sure that as they grow older, they're continuing down that path in preventive methods. Instead of spending $39 million on a juvenile facility in Alexandria, we could be spending $39 million on making sure our children have activities to engage in, which will keep them off of the street.
So, thank you for that question. It's a great question. And I commend you for your work and your education after that traumatic event, because I know it was hard. And I'm glad that you brought up the mental health of our children, because another thing that you run for office, you got to talk about your life. I was abused as a child. I was sexually abused as a child. So I have PTSD. Children with PTSD are adults with PTSD. PTSD puts you, your fight or flight is constantly on. And that results in bad situations. If you don't understand how to process it, and it took me years to work through it and realize, that every loud sound, every bad thing, that wasn't the world collapsing around me. But it took years of hard work. If I had the resources as a child, it wouldn't have been so hard. And for these children that are in these situations, we absolutely need counseling and mental health priorities in our schools so that these children do not become adults with these issues. Thank you again for that question. It's a great question. This is something I feel very passionate about.
Thank you, Mr. Marchbanks. Next audience question. Yes, ma'am.
I think the
Lady raising
question
her hand.
goes to both of you guys. Our immigrant communities are constantly living in fear, and a lot has been happening in this state. I want to know what steps will both you guys take to make sure that they feel safe in this state?
What?
Would you like to start first? This time.
Go, you had the thought in your head, go
No,
for
no,
it.
no. Thank you for the question. We kind of a little bit addressed this a little bit earlier. I think education is key to let individuals, immigrants, know their rights. I consider this to be about people, and so if you're in the district, if you're in the state, we want to be able to protect you. I've heard you speak at different events with voting, so I honor you and thank you for your work that you're doing to protect the people and educating them, because that is like the key component. I think that, you know, the more knowledge we have, we showed that with the amendments, knowledge is power. It is real power. And so what we want to be able to do in this, because it's a new and kind of uncharted waters for Louisiana. For years at the Capitol, we often had, even my organization would say, well, what immigration? And we really didn't have it until you saw an uptick last year, and then now you're seeing a huge swing that way, a trend, so to speak. But the ultimate deal is to educate and protect. And whatever we need to do to invest funding to ensure that the people of Louisiana are protected and not scared to go outside. And when you see a police officer, you have to run at some of the stories I've heard, or we talked about show them at the polls and not wanting to vote because there's a police officer there, and you're going to be at the very least harassed about your status, where are you from, show me your ID. Those things in this day and age are unnecessary and unwarranted. And so we will do everything we can in our power to invest and ensure that the people feel safe and protected here.
This is a great question, and I think it's important. I have met so many wonderful people here that are not from here. And they want a better life for themselves and their family, and they're willing to work really, really hard to do that. And they should feel welcome here and feel safe here. And I think it's illustrative if you look across the river a few years ago. You know, they bring in trucks every year for the cane fields. And the sheriff started pulling over these trucks with Mexican plates. And it slowed down cane production. And the sheriff got a call, and the sheriff told his deputies, do not mess with these people. They are working hard, they're part of our community, they are adding to our economy. And I think it's only a matter of time before this happens throughout the state and the nation, because there's so much of our economy that these people provide. And not to mention, they are such good people. They add to the tapestry of life in Louisiana. And they should feel safe here. Everyone should feel safe here and not be worried about leaving the house, worried about that cop that's 3 cars behind them, worried about that cop on the corner. That's not who we are. And that's not who we want to be.
Thank you, Mr. Marchbanks. Next question?
So I have a question related to what's happening with St. George, the city of St. George and Baton Rouge, and specifically for the school system. I'd like to know what are you standing on, and what are your thoughts related to the school system in regards EDR and St. George?
So, like I said, I think we have to stop looking at St. George is here. It's its own city. It had its own government. It's a sister city, so there is going to be some working together. I think we have to stop looking at it as how it divides us and how it can bring us together. What makes St. George different than Plaquemine or Baker or New Orleans even, or other cities that are not in Baton Rouge, other than it being right next to us and they were once part of. We have Central, that was once part of Baton Rouge. I think that the school system, we all want the same things, no matter what party, race, gender. We all want our children to be successful. So again, I'm gonna keep saying it. You have to invest in early childhood education. And I think that if we do our part and fully fund that across the state, there's no reason Louisiana won't be in the top 10 someday, hopefully sometime soon. But St. George is here. We have to work with them. They have to work with us. I think we have to stop looking at what divides us and start looking at what brings us together.
So, just so I understand your question, it's about, what do I think about St. George having its own school district?
Yes, and specifically with the children that are now leaving by accident in the city of St. George, but attend to EBR school systems and how that is going to be impacting our own children.
So this is something I've wondered about, because I believe there's 4 EBR schools in the city of St. George, and I don't think they can form a school district and take those buildings. But under the law, they can set up a school district. But it's going to be a very complicated thing that I imagine the legislature will have to become involved in. Otherwise, we're going to have 2 overlapping school systems. But they do have the right as a city to set up a school district. And I'm with Terry on this. Like, we have so much more in common than what divides us. And it's important that we find ways to work together.
Yes, sir.
I'm a hard down campaign Democrat. I do a lot of work across the districts. My question is, what are both of you plan on doing to get the voters out to vote? What's your strategy of making sure these younger people get out and vote?
Number one, I think.
I mean, at the end of the day,
again,
yeah.
I'm very old school in my approach. Yes, you know, as a campaign, it's a short election, so you have to have canvassers, right? That's a given. But you're gonna also see me knocking on doors, and I have loved engaging with people. The conversations that we've had have been so enlightening. And then another thing, like, my children have been engaged, right? They begged to come. Hey, Daddy, you going to walk today? So this morning, when my daughter said, we going to walk today, Dad? No, baby, we got a farm. And she was a little upset, right? Because she's able to engage with people. They are able to engage with her. She's able to see what the process really means. And we're educating our children. We're building them for the future. And so I think that, look, there's no greater thing that we can do than personally knock doors. I know we can't reach everybody in this short amount of time, but we're gonna do our best. We're gonna work hard, and that's our strategy, just to really touch the people as many as we can, one door at a time.
So as I understand your question, it's about voter participation and how we increase voter participation. It should not be so hard to vote. You know, the legislature, and all of its wisdom, has made it harder to vote based on the scariest thing that just happened on Fox News. When the fact of the matter is, fraudulent voting is very rare. In fact, I think even the Heritage Foundation has a list of like 80 cases over 40 years. So we should make voting more accessible to people. So early voting starts in a week, and in the district there are 2 early vote locations. There should be more. I don't know why we don't have them in the libraries, at ancillary parish buildings. Fact of the matter is, I don't know why you can't vote by mail early if you want to. But they have made it hard to vote because they don't want people to vote. It is a strategy for power. It's wrong. And voting should be more available to all citizens. It should be easier to vote for citizens than harder to vote.
Thank you, Mr. Marchbanks. Final question?
I appreciate y'all time and everything, man. I just want to know that either you identify the most disadvantaged economic areas in your district, and could you make a promise to prioritize them and start with the poorest areas first in your work?
Absolutely, 100%.
You have identified where they are in your
Well,
district?
so it would be, well, I guess it'd be two. Running up from just north of LSU, just over here to the other side of 10, and then down off Gardere. And I think that could be addressed through transportation, investments in education, and public safety.
Look, I'm gonna be honest with you. I think that for myself, anywhere where people are struggling to make it, they're looking from paycheck to paycheck, or sometimes they can't even make it to paycheck, is the most important area in our city. We cannot pick and choose who we help first or last. I think we have to have an overall approach that will help those in most need, and that's going to cover a wide variety of this district. If you know this district, it is diverse, not only by economic status, not only by race, but just by people and space, right? So I think yes, there are some areas that need some extra massaging, right? But I think that anytime we go into communities where individuals aren't enjoying the best quality of life in this city, in this state that we love, we want to be able to address it.
Thank you, Mr. Landry Jr. and Ms. Marchbanks for y'all responses. Okay, now we come down to the final part where I'm going to give each candidate 2 minutes to make closing remarks. In your closing remarks, I'm going to ask that you just be honest and earnest and to give us a reason to vote. I want to first thank the people in the audience who came out and participated. I want to thank both candidates, as I said, for taking time out of what I know is your very busy candidacy and knocking on doors, as Mr. Landry said, and talking to the people. In your closing remarks, I'm going to ask that you include, what in your background, what in your life's experiences, what in your foresights and vision for your district. And if I'm John Doe, just moved to Baton Rouge, why should I vote for you? I open with you, Mr. Landry, so I'm going to give you a chance to go first, Mr. Marchbanks. You're closing. You got 2 minutes.
So, I voted for a Democrat for president every time I voted for president. My first vote was for Bill Clinton. My proudest vote was for Barack Obama. And, there were a lot of people that made fun of hope and change. But I believe our politics have become so toxic. I only have to look at the comments on my Facebook page and see the vile, ugly things that people take time out of their day to put on social media. And this is no way to live. This is why I got into this, because I'm tired of toxic politics. And I've worked hard my whole life. I come from a working class family. I have worked my whole life. And those are the values that I bring to being state representative. Every day I walk in that building, I will think about people like my mom, who was a waitress, like my dad, who worked in the oil field, like me, who waited tables and now works in construction, people who work paycheck to paycheck. I get that life, I live that life. So those are going to be the people I prioritize every day in the session. I believe I would be best to be state representative because of this working class background, because of those values of labor that I bring to the table, and the challenges that I've overcome in my life. I see how it can be so very hard on so many. And they don't people don't want something for free. Sometimes they just need a little help. And government is the place of the possible. It is the place where we solve our collective action problems. And I believe that we can embrace this in a spirit of brotherly love. And, you know, I'm eternally optimistic this way. I refuse to give in to the negativity. My name's Sonny Marchbanks. I'll be number 20 on your ballot. I ask for your vote. I thank you for being here. It's been an honor and a pleasure to be here with you. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Marchbanks. Mr. Landry, 2 minutes.
First and foremost, thank you all for being here this evening. What in my background makes me best suited to be in this position? I think we've talked repeatedly about some of those things. I believe my faith has led me here. I believe that my walk as a father has led me here. My dedication and commitment to my family, to my wife, to people since we started doing this work over 16 years ago has led me here. I watched my father become a lonely sheriff's officer in a little town of New Iberia and become the first African-American superintendent of the state police here in Louisiana. I watched my mother go to college I didn't watch her, but she went to college at 16 and, you know, gave up her career and worked at Bell South to raise 3 children while my father excelled, and she supported, and they supported each other. And then when we were grown, she went back to school to show us how important education was. And what she did with that, she went back and gave back to the community by working for Big Brothers and Big Sisters. So when I talk about DNA, it's not about politics. It's about people. It's about hard work. It's about showing up. It's about being a man of your word and doing so with integrity and respect. And that's what we've done throughout our careers, my career. So I am committed to the people of this district. I am committed to the people of this city. I am committed to the people of this state. And so I ask for your vote. I ask for your support. But most of all, I ask for your prayers. So please, April 19th through the 26th, May 3rd, vote number 19 on your ballot, Terry Landry Jr.
Thank you, Mr. Landry Jr. Again, I want to thank both candidates. As Nancy said, I want to remind people the actual election day is May 3rd, but early voting, of course, from 8 to 6 at the places you can go at your own convenience. It's from April 19th through the 26th. My mom's 83. I always tell her to go vote early because she may not want to get up on May 3rd, or she may spend May 2nd at the casino. Who knows? But I tell her it's convenience and it's at your time. So early voting is important if you can go, but all voting is important. Please, not only yourself vote. Please make sure you get 4 or 5 friends and have them to get 4 or 5 friends so that we can get a true representation of who we want to represent us. You heard from both candidates. You see what they bring to the table. Both are very upstanding persons. So please use your conscience, do your homework. And if for any more information, you can go visit Go Vote. That's GEAU vote.com and get information on all the elections. And with that, it's time for me to go. And I'm going to turn it over to Reverend Anderson to close us out.
Again, we want to thank both of the 2 of the 3 candidates for joining us today. It was amazing. Thank you so much. We do know how valuable time is when you are running for office, but we also know how valuable your time is, that you made time on a weekday because you care, and it matters. I also want to thank the incredible East Baton Rouge Parish library system. Again, we have used these beautiful facilities, and they are amazing, and we are always so grateful that our library system is a community-based system. So I never want people to not realize that we are the exception to the rule. We are the #1 library system in the country. Last but not least, please grab something to go. If y'all got folk at home, bring them a plate, be nice so that they'll understand. If you left children at home, bring them something because they like it. Please, you have in your packets information to engage with voting. I tell people that the call to action is to change something. You have information that you can give to your pastor, to your workplace, whatever it is. Remind people we have an election. Most people are not even aware we have an election. That's just the truth. And we've got to make sure that for some people, they're not going to be in this particular district. But guess what? There are taxes all up and down that mountain. And one of them is a parish-wide tax. So there's nobody in the parish who should not be voting. And so we have to remember that the first thing people say is, well, I don't live in that particular district. But you have children in school, and there are school taxes on there. There are all sorts of things. St. George has runoff elections.